Let's see how fast it takes to go live tonight. How quick is it to go up onto, we're online on Facebook. Looks like Twitter is going, Periscope. Good, we're live here. Let's see how people jump on. Okay, good. Looks like, yes, people are jumping on. Hawaii, yes. Hawaii is fantastic. Good, here they all roll in really fast tonight. Excellent. Ohio, Michigan, Plattsburgh, New York is back. Montana, wonderful. Chicago, I saw fly by there. Lots of Michigan people. I've been helping lots of Michigan people lately, which is really cool. Arizona, I used to live in Arizona for about 6 months on internship as we let people roll in. I lived in Boston for a couple years. I've lived in a couple different places. Jersey Shore, fantastic. Okay, awesome. Welcome to the show. This is Dr. Jason Dean, Revolution Network, your source for health, freedom, and knowledge. And welcome to everybody on a Monday night, on a crazy, entertaining Monday, without a doubt. Okay, let's dive in because I have probably quite a bit of information to get into, and quite honestly, I'll have to answer some questions tonight because someone said today they would like to see me answer more questions, so I'll do the best that I can with the time tonight. Excellent. And Australia is coming in, which is fantastic. Lots of Australia. That's wonderful. We need to get some Australian rights back, especially in the chiropractic field. So let's start off with the most obvious thing, which is oil, or the petro, tanked today big time. So this was like out of nowhere. We should have known it was going to happen though, but we basically went down to, I was getting texts from friends, and it went down to $4, and then it went down to $1, and then I heard it was down to a penny. We hit zero, and then it crashed even lower. Now the futures are already up about $20 tomorrow, but still in the negative. The Dow futures are already up for tomorrow as well, a couple hundred points. However, oil crashed. Now, people want to know what this actually means. So I'm going to bring up a graphic here for myself to look at. As of January 2019, so over a year ago last year, oil production, we used to import most of our oil from the Middle East. However, the president had said, and the president had repeated many times, that we were going to be an oil exporter. As of January 2019, if you go to my Twitter page, so my Twitter page is twitter.com/Dr. Jason Dean, you'll find it. I retweeted a video there. We are number one as of January 2019. We're even more today, which is we're April 2020. Number one exporter of oil production at almost a little over 12. We were 12,000 barrels in 2019. We're probably well over 20,000. To the extent that I read an article earlier today, I can't find the article now, but I read the article earlier today that we have so much oil in America that we don't have enough storage places to put it. Meaning we don't need to import anything. Now, I'm sure we are importing stuff, and I did read we are importing from other nations, and I don't know all the economics of how that works, but we are also the number one energy. Now, not just oil, but energy in general. We're the number one energy exporter in the world. That includes oil, but it also includes natural gas. Now, someone asked me today what I thought about fracking. I'm not going to go deep into this because I quite honestly do not know all the science behind fracking. I have not really looked it up. I know fracking happens a lot of different places. I do not have a full opinion on fracking. One, because I just don't know enough about it, quite honestly. But I will tell you, I don't lean towards fracking. The reason why I say that, from what I do understand of it, it is very toxic to the planet, toxic to the land, okay? Because when you do it, you're actually using a lot of chemicals to do fracking, and the chemicals are actually, they're running off into our wildlife and nature, killing wildlife, killing nature. I do not like that. So I won't go any farther than that on fracking because I just don't know enough about it. But I do know that it does hurt the land. So we do need to go with more renewable resources in America, okay? Now, a lot of people don't like what oil does. And again, I am not for oil necessarily. Obviously, all of our vehicles, for the most part, are running on oil. If you get rid of oil, you actually can tank the entire economy, which might be happening right now. You don't realize how much of our economy, how much of our products. I mean, I look around here right now and I have everything from a book to a water bottle to products here. I mean, honestly, everything is made of oil. People don't realize that you have to have oil for the time being. Now, can we transition over to renewable resources? Absolutely, of course. But you're not going to change that infrastructure overnight. However, this is what I think is going deeper in the oil. Because keep in mind, we finished, I think it was around negative $37 a barrel of oil. That means they had to pay you to take oil. I actually I was going through the process of setting up a TD Ameritrade account to actually buy shares of oil when it was like at a penny, and I didn't get to it in time and it went below zero. I'm like, okay, I can't do it now because it wouldn't make sense. I'd have to pay them. I'm not going to do that. So keep an eye on it though, because it might be a very good purchase in the very near future for oil. So this is what I think could be happening is he's destroying the petrodollar and he's destroying the economy that is based on that. Meaning, we will know over the next couple days because there's contracts, oil futures contracts involved. Okay, who is carrying those? Now, it could be the Bushes, it could be the Saudis, people in the Middle East. All these people are involved in oil, and you could bankrupt them technically overnight if done correctly. Now, also, the cabal, the elite, the New World Order, the global order, they run everything off the petrodollar. The petrodollar is the global currency, right? That's what we trade with. However, it also is involved with drug cartels. It's also involved with human trafficking. It's involved with all of this stuff. Now, what does it mean to us? What it means to us is you'll probably have a decrease in gas prices. Will it last forever? No. You could go under $1. I don't know if that's going to happen. I really don't. I don't know if we'll get under $1. Now, the president a couple weeks ago made a joke about going down to 87 cents. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that could be very fascinating. You also have to wonder if the petrodollar goes away and the oil goes away, or the oil goes to a different type of backing. You have to wonder where the gold is. Because right now, all our confidence on the dollar is in the oil, meaning the only reason our dollar is worth anything, the only reason this dollar is worth anything is because we have confidence in oil, honestly. So that means if the oil goes away or doesn't become the essentially the petrodollar, then you have to have some sort of backing. That's where gold could come in. That's where multiple metallics could come in. You would need that backing to come in to support the currency. So I don't know where that's going to go. We have to keep an eye on it, but most likely people are currently just looking at, well, what is the price of fuel going to be? Because that's the biggest thing. And then going forward, we'll see how this actually takes off. You might also see where the Democrats or the deep state start pushing their Green New Deal again. You might actually see that. So obviously, that's not something we're interested in because that was a joke. But you might see them starting to try to push that. But for the time being, we have tons of oil that we almost don't even know what to do with, and they might have bankrupted some of the cabal members behind the scenes, including the Saudis. Now, one of the things that pops up, I told somebody about this today, was I mentioned this a long time ago, probably a month ago. Do you know why we killed Gaddafi in Libya? We killed Gaddafi in Libya because Gaddafi refused to bring in a central bank. He actually had gold, but oil paid for their entire society, to the point where if you got married, you got a certain amount of money. If you had children, you got a certain amount of money. They had a lot of social programs. Whether they were good or bad, I don't know. I didn't live there, obviously. But they killed Gaddafi because, one, they wanted the oil. Two, they wanted the gold. And three, they could not have a central bank there. He was stopping it, and he would not take the petrodollar, just like Saddam Hussein would not take the petrodollar. So you have two technically kind of dictators, kings, who not necessarily were good people. I'm not saying that, but they would not allow the Federal Reserve or the central bank in. Okay, so this is all playing off the central bank. The president is playing a very, very interesting game. I posted earlier today regarding if there might be more than one President Trump. I'm not going to go into that because it's not really worth the energy. Just know that they've been using body clones and body doubles for a long period of time in politics. It was pretty well known that Hillary Clinton potentially had clones and doubles that they use, and you can see pictures out there that they look like her. They use a lot of plastic surgery, but it was definitely not her. They're trying to say that maybe President Trump has that. I don't know. I will tell you that I have looked at enough stuff that I truly do believe that time travel exists. I believe that you can look into multiple universes at one time. I believe you can see the future, the past, and the present all at the same time. Even Tesla said you could do that. Tesla said he saw the future, the past, and the present all at the same time while in his electrical dome. So, just because you may not think that's possible out there does not mean it's not possible. It's very possible. There is so much technology that we don't know about. So, somebody asked me the other day about Star Trek, Star Wars, all this different stuff. Those were all real. I don't know if you know that or not, but Roddenberry actually talked about. I think Roddenberry was Star Wars. I'm sorry, Star Trek. Star Wars was Lucas. So Roddenberry actually talked about the fact that all of his storyline was actually what he actually claimed, and I actually know somebody who knew Roddenberry. He actually claimed that he was abducted, and what he put on the screen was what he actually experienced. So all of these movies you see out there before this thing went down, all these movies you saw of all this technology, that technology has already been made. The technology we have today with these stupid iPhones that are like super cheap and everything else, this is actually old technology. I mean, it's new to us as a civilization, but they actually predict that we're upwards of billions of years behind what the actual technology out in the cosmos is. So that's why we always talk about this is biblical, this is historical from a cosmos standpoint, because ultimately what you have in front of you is very outdated technology compared to what's actually out there. So just be cautious of that and just know that that stuff is out there. Some people love when I talk about that stuff, so I always give you a little bit of information on it because I actually love that stuff too. Politics can actually sometimes be a little bit downer because it's so crazy, but the actual fun stuff is when you know what we actually could potentially have and our potential is there. So I want to explain something to you when it regards to oil and gas. Go on YouTube right now. Well, not right now. Watch this first, then go on YouTube afterwards. And all I did, because I've watched these before, all I did was I put in YouTube water as fuel for vehicle. And you will get a tremendous amount of information that pops up showing people that actually created automobiles or vehicles that could run off of water. We do not need to run off of oil. That is an old global order game that they want us to play because they make all the money off of that. We do not need that kind of technology anymore. There is so much better technology out there. But there's something in here. And the funny part is if I scroll down, this is the interesting part. As I scroll down, I get to, excuse me, I get to Mythbusters, busted water for fuel. So they debunked apparently water for fuel. Mythbusters is a load of crap, by the way, just so you know. I mean, they have some cool stuff, but they're run by, I think, the Discovery Channel or History Channel. They're not going to allow you to know that the science is already out there that we could run off of water. Now, I brought this up because actually there's an article today that I read regarding hydrogen. And hydrogen is our most abundant source of potential fuel on the face of the planet. And it's clean, meaning it's an emission-free fuel. So it would actually just pour out distilled water, essentially. Now, why are we not on hydrogen already? Kind of similar to how it is with different solar stuff and things like that. Technology, when it first comes out, is very expensive. And then as you get better and better and better at it, it becomes less expensive. Kind of like desalination of water as well. However, the problem with hydrogen right now, even though they're still testing it and it will be a fuel at some point, hydrogen is very expensive to store. Okay, that's the biggest problem right now. But keep in mind, I foresee down the road, I'm not talking even about 6 months or a year from now, but years down the road, most likely, is I see water, hydrogen, and free electricity running our automobiles, our vehicles, and everything else included that has motor powered. Okay, that's what I see happening because it's out there. We know about it. You also have 0 point energy. You have zero gravity. That's how actually UFOs fly, is zero gravity. They don't require any fuel. They actually operate off of other elements. And now I can back that up because I have spoken to people from Boeing as well as Lockheed, as well as I watched tons of videos on military behind the scenes. I've also read tons of documents from military, the fact that they do have UFOs, they have reverse engineered them, and there is 0 point gravity, and it does work, and that is how they can actually fly crafts. We already have all of this information. Okay, going forward, there was a report today out of Detroit that they have a hospital there, and I don't remember the hospital name, but they're starting to furlough employees. So actually, they 48,000. People, I think it was 48,000. It was a large number. Where they're actually sending employees home. They have lost $600 million in revenue because it's a dead hospital. They don't have anything coming in. They have very few COVID-19 patients, and this is going to start happening across the board. Now, the reason I bring this up is I want us to know regarding the economy what's going to potentially happen. The market could and possibly will go down or crash again because these companies that you're not going to change over this whole thing like that. It's just not going to happen. You can't shut an economy down for a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks without having major problems. So this is what we're looking at. The president has unlimited stimulus power right now. So I foresee them dumping a ton of money or Federal Reserve fiat currency into the system. I think they're already working on like a $350 billion or $500 billion deal where they push more stimulus money out into the economy. And as far as I've read, the president has already planned on this. He's taking care of it. This is actually potentially part of what you do in bankrupting the Fed, but he knows that people are going to be laid off. And keep in mind, excuse me, don't worry, the cough is going away. It comes and goes. It's mostly adrenals because I deal with stress every day too. It's all right. I've had people message me and they're very concerned about it. I'm completely under control. But this is what could potentially happen is the economy starts going like this and then it starts roller coastering based on stimulus, but then also based on more and more people being laid off, okay? But this has been built in to the situation, okay? So I don't want everyone to panic. They are rebuilding the economy, but this is the big one. We have 7 months until the election. If this is truly a war against the globalists and the elite system, they are not going to go quietly into the night. It's just not going to happen. They have 7 more months of where they will try to wrestle free control of you, the public, from potentially the good guys. So we have 7 months of potentially still a rocky road. Now, the president talks about the economy skyrocketing. Yes, I think that we will potentially skyrocket the economy in certain sectors, but that doesn't mean across the board. Okay, I think it's going to be kind of rocky. I think employment will go up and down, but he's going to try to keep the economy and the market up as best as possible as we go forward. And then I predict potentially certain false flags that will go off before the November election, because this is what we're seeing. It looks like Michelle Obama could be the person that that falls in line as VP choice for Biden, because let me tell you, I don't know if you guys have seen what Biden looks like. He's a train wreck. He can barely get through in his own home without a teleprompter and a script. He goes on these mainstream news programs and he doesn't even get answers out. His wife was sitting next to him. She's hoping that he gets the answer out. There is no way he will survive getting in unless they completely rig the election and screw it up, or he gets in and then they take him out because he's not fit for office, and then if Michelle was the VP, she pops in. Michelle, and yes, if you didn't know this, it's very possible that Michelle is not actually a Michelle. It might be trans. I don't go down that road necessarily because it doesn't really get me anywhere and it doesn't change anything. But for some people, they love the conspiracy stuff. They love the crazy off-the-wall conspiracy stuff. Go down that rabbit hole. I'm sure you'll have fun. But that's what I see happening is the next 7 months are going to get very, very interesting and still rocky, because they're going to try to take the president out at some point. I mean, there's probably assassination attempts almost daily, if not weekly. So we have to really, really keep an eye on that and what's actually happening, okay? Now, I want to dive into this part almost towards the end tonight because this is important. So you saw my post earlier potentially of the Harvard professor who talked about homeschooling. Now, the reason why this is so important is because everyone right now is homeschooling, right? And you're realizing that now, in the very beginning, it was a little harder because time, and you've never done it before, and some of us were not great in school, and so now how are we going to teach our kids? But as it keeps going, you realize it doesn't take as much time, and you also realize that it's not rocket science necessarily. You basically can allow them to learn on their own. Let me tell you, my daughter's homeschooled at 6 years old. She gets all of her schoolwork done in probably about an hour to 2 hours. And her vocabulary is that of she dumps words out that I was not using in college. And so she does it in record time. She plays at the park all day long. Other than that, she plays with friends. She works at the office and does things. And all her work is done. Her homework is done and schoolwork is done in literally a couple hours max. And she's writing, she's spelling, she's doing math, she's doing all this stuff, and she's just like boom, 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 boom. Okay, so let me go to this Harvard article because I want to highlight some of the items that she went through which make her completely insane. Okay, here we go. It's called The Risks of Homeschooling. She argues that the practice of homeschooling is an inherent violation of children's rights and should therefore be banned. Can you say communist? I mean, that is so over the top insane that she would even say something like that. So she's a director of law school's child advocacy program, and she cites the right to a meaningful education and concerns about potential child abuse due to homeschooling. This is a Harvard professor that is teaching your freaking college students. Okay? She argues that current homeschooling laws include very few requirements that parents do anything. That's completely ludicrous because I know I've seen what is required. She says that parents have extreme religious ideologies. Why? Because they're Christian, Catholic because they believe in God, they believe in Jesus, they believe in spirituality, they believe in self-development and personal development. I mean, that's insane. And she said that children should be introduced to democratic values. When you say democratic values, that means socialism, by the way, about non-discrimination and the tolerance of other people's viewpoints. This is teaching direct communism to people. This is building a slave state through professors at Harvard University. Let's see. What else did she say? She said that she argued that banning homeschooling does not impede on very significant rights to raise their children with the beliefs and religious convictions that the parents hold, meaning she doesn't like the religious convictions that parents hold. Let's see. The issue is, do we think that parents should have 24/7 essentially authoritarian control? So she calls parents monitoring their kids 24/7 authoritarian control over their children from 0 to 18, and she believes that is dangerous. Okay, it gets better as you go. You have to read this article. It's insane. She said they have an essentially unregulated regime in areas of homeschooling because basically parents get their way because there's really no organized political opposition. So she believes that homeschooling parents should have political opposition to what they do. This is Harvard University. Now, I want to point out something very fascinating. There's a guy named Corey A. DeAngelis. Now, he is on Twitter. He's actually just agreed to interview with me very soon. He is, let me actually tell you who Corey is because it's very important who Corey is. Corey is the director of school choice at the Reason Foundation. He's an adjunct scholar at the Cato Institute, and he's executive director at the EF Institute, which I'll go into. So he is a very smart man. He's a libertarian in values, and he is a phenomenal journalist, okay? Now, this is what Corey said. Corey replied to this college professor because on the article, there was a little house, and inside was a child sitting at the window with prison bars, meaning the kid couldn't get out. Now, outside the house were kids playing, and the walls of the house had books. One was a reading book, one was a writing book, one was an arithmetic book, but they misspelled arithmetic, and then the last book was the Bible. This professor is saying in her article that homeschool children are prisoners of their home and that they read the Bible, which is destructive to their life and personality. That is coming from Harvard University. Guess who went to Harvard University but couldn't quite cut it? Bill Gates. And Bill Gates said that if he was going to Harvard again today, he would study artificial intelligence because that's what he wants to create his new world with. So this is the insanity of this. Now, on top of that, we have, I actually looked this up, this professor from Harvard University is actually having a seminar in June 18th and 19th, 2020, and her seminar at Harvard is called Homeschooling Summit, Problems, Politics, and Prospects for Reform. Okay, so her agenda, okay, here are the reading. I want to go through this a little bit because you guys need to know this. This is what your schools and your colleges, and it's not just Harvard. It's all universities across the board, minus probably a few at the top who teach actual real values, spirituality, economics the right way, okay? These are the reading materials she wants you reading before. It's her book. It's called Homeschooling, Parent Rights, Absolutism versus Child Rights to Education Protection. Homeschooling, the History and Philosophy of a Controversial Practice. And then she has a whole bunch of other ones that are completely insane. And then I looked at her I looked at their actual agenda, which is online. Her agenda starts off with the evolution of parental rights in homeschooling regulation. She wants to take parental rights away from students and parents. All right? And then one of her big issues that she's having at the seminar is concerns with homeschooling, the overall research picture, including educational and social outcomes, civic and democratic values, socialism, and then child maltreatment. She truly believes that if you're a homeschool child, you're being abused by your parents both mentally and physically. That is what's coming out of this woman's head. And then she also has a whole thing on a presumptive ban of homeschooling. She wants to ban homeschooling at Harvard University. That's what this woman is doing. If you noticed it, she can't comb her hair. She's a crazy communist, and she's at Harvard, one of the most prestigious, supposedly, schools on the face of the planet. Special word, so it was PR. She wanted children to be under state ownership, that they don't believe kids are ownership of parents. Now, let me explain ownership. For example, and some people might take this the wrong way, so I want to clarify. When you have a child, you have ownership rights to them, because as a parent, you own them. Not in the fact that you own them as a slave, but you are responsible for everything that they do. You're responsible for raising them, feeding them, sheltering them, housing them, you name it, okay? You have ownership rights over your child. The state does not. The state has zero rights over your child. Like, make that ably clear. On top of that, you are also responsible for programming your child. What do I mean by that? Well, let's see. For example, I'll use my daughter as an example, okay? I would like my daughter, probably like you want your children. I want her to be growing up to be a responsible individual who is productive, can pay her own way, can delineate the difference between a good person and a bad person, so that when she gets married or whatever she wants to do, whatever gender she wants to marry, that she picks somebody who is a responsible individual that she can actually create a life with, so that someday when she does have kids, if she wants to have kids, she's responsible with their kids. So I am responsible for programming her in a positive way through her life, from the time she's born to the time she's 18 or whenever else she leaves on her own and does her own thing. I and her mother, my wife, are responsible for her. That means we have ownership. We are responsible for creating a good human being that helps humanity and helps the world and doesn't draw off other people in the government, okay? So our children do not always listen to the things we say. What they do is they model our behaviors. So it's my responsibility, my wife's responsibility, it's your responsibility to be an ethical, moral human being of this society, be productive, create good works, help other human beings, and when you do those physical actions, your kids notice that, and they do the same thing you do, and that's how you develop a good person, right? This woman has no clue how to raise a normal human being. What they're doing is they're putting all this money behind Harvard to create slaves for socialism and communism. Now keep in mind, Harvard has the largest endowment in American colleges at $40 billion, and yet they just stole $9 million of the last stimulus program. Why do they need $9 million when they have a $40 billion endowment? Harvard is a scam. Now, they might have some really good classes there in certain areas, and it might be a Ivy League school, but guess what? There are people who are far smarter, have made far more money, have become far more successful, contributed so much more to society, who have either no degree or a community college degree or a state college degree, okay? You do not need Harvard, and at the end of the day, Harvard is teaching some BS. So this was all described by an amazing woman named Charlotte Iserbyt. Now, Charlotte, I'm gonna go through just a couple things here, okay? Did you know that in 1978, the U.S. Department of Education was created? Before that, there was no U.S. Department of Education. Now, Charlotte was actually a director of the Department of Education. She is now an older woman quite older, and she is writing on how the Department of Education was essentially a communist Nazi program. Now, I'm not going to go through all the information. You can go to her website, look up Charlotte Iserbyt. She's also on YouTube. She has some videos out there that are fantastic. But it was developed in 1978, and as they went through the decades, they actually put in slavery systems to keep our kids slaves to the system. And I don't know if people understand this or know about this, how this works, but it's very important for you to know that the system is designed to fail your children. Okay? Now, I am not saying all of you are going to be able to just homeschool tomorrow. I understand that is not feasible. What I propose, though, is that you're going to get a taste of homeschooling right now. Your kids may not want to go back, unfortunately, other than to see their friends. I would love to see private organizations, spiritual religious organizations start building both not-for-profits but also private organizations, maybe for-profit, where they start building schools or almost smaller tech-type universities or smaller tech-type schools, almost like Montessori-type situations for K all the way up through 18 years old and even through colleges, where we can send our kids, because at the end of the day, the amount of money you pay in school taxes and taxes through your local government on school and federal, you actually could be given a check for that. You could either have your money back or be giving a check for how much you pay extra. You could actually send your child to a private organization for a better education far cheaper than what you're paying the local public school systems. And that's actually what Mr. Corey DeAngelis on Twitter, I am actually going to be interviewing him. He agreed to do that today. We just have to get the schedule set up. And he's going to go over exactly how we do that. So keep an eye out for that interview, because he is a rock star. He's a genius when it comes to homeschooling, but he's also a genius when it comes to voucher programs and how to actually economically create an entirely new educational system in the U.S., saving radical amounts of money, but also having your kids educated far faster than the public education system ever could, because you do not need 18 years to teach these kids the crap that they're teaching them and then to just go study and pass some standardized tests. So as in a practice like myself and my wife, we have a practice where we see lots of homeschooled kids. They graduate faster. Most of the kids are done with school by the time they're 14 to 16 years old, and they actually have to hang around and study on their own random other stuff until they become 18, where they can actually go to college. So when I have homeschool kids in the practice, they are smarter than most adults that I know sometimes. Like, their vocabulary is fantastic. They're polite. They're kind. They're unbelievable. So anybody who thinks that it's not good to be homeschooled, like crazy lady over here, completely not true. And also, by the way, socialization. So this is the big thing you hear, is your kids are not going to be socialized. Well, first of all, think about that term. They want your kids to be socialized. No, they want your kids to be a socialist, which turns into communism, right? No, socialization means they want your kids to be normal like society. Well, I don't want my kid to be normal like society, because if they're part of the sheep out there, and I say that nicely, that's a problem. Actually, kids that are homeschooled do more clubs, do more music activities, do gymnastics, do dance, etc. They are not disconnected from being in social type programs. When I say social, I'm just talking about communication amongst other people. I'm not talking about socialism. So they have this whole thing completely lopsided, but I will tell you, this system has been being put in place for at least the last probably 50 to 100 years, and you need to know about it, because I talked, I think it was last night or the other night, about the mental drugging of children. These schools want your kids drugged, okay? They want street drugs and psychiatric medications. This is why school shootings happen. You mentally destroy them because of improper education, terrible testing, complete confusion on things that they don't need to be learning in the first place, or the wrong way of doing it. And then they're tired, they're bored out of their mind, they are not productive, and so they start finding things to do, and sometimes that's not always a good thing. And then they give them mental health screenings and they drug them out of their mind, and next thing you know, you have a perfectly able slave that goes into the system, produces all day, doesn't use creative energies, doesn't become an entrepreneur, doesn't create new things, doesn't create new products. And that's the world we have in front of us now, and we need to change that radically and flip that over, and we need to create a new education system that is based on a parental direction. There are tons of homeschool curriculums out there that are amazing. Some people ask me about homeschool curriculums. We actually do local stuff. We have booklets, but also if you're looking for one, the one I know best is the Ron Paul homeschool curriculum. You can just go Google that. It'll pop right up. That's a great one, but there's probably people out there right now who are homeschooling in the audience tonight, the viewers, so I'm sure they can drop some of their links, and they have some great ones. So do that, because this is how we build our children back up, is proper education. Okay, school doesn't mean education. Education means critical thinking, gaining knowledge, but then also being able to apply that knowledge. That's why you have kids coming out of college today with $200,000 in student loans, and their entry-level job is $30,000 and they can't pay it back. Yet you get somebody who goes to a technical school, whether they learn electrical work, plumbing, could be anything like that. It doesn't have to be just those trades. It could be many different things. And those people make out of the box sometimes $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 plus a year, and they have zero debt from school, and they might only have to pay a little bit off through a credit card, and they are way ahead of the game. And our president has said in the past that he wants to build technical schools back up. If we build technical schools back up in America, let me tell you, the economy will skyrocket, because technical jobs is what needs to happen. I'll be honest with you, I am not a technical person necessarily. I have a few tools that I like to work with in the backyard for small projects. But if it comes to electrical work, if it comes to carpentry, if it comes to plumbing, anything like that, I can do very small stuff. But if it's anything deeper, where one, I don't want to break something because I don't know enough about it, or two, I don't have time, I call in that technical person because they can do it in a fraction of the time I can, and they'll probably do it less expensive than I can. So people want those things. Down here, if an air conditioner breaks, I am not going to have to fix an air conditioner because I do not know how it works, nor do I want to know how it works. I have someone come in, they charge you $100, $200, but it's done, and you're good to go, right? Those are all technical jobs that will cost you little to no money to get the education, and you could be making almost six figures out the door over a period of time. And a lot of those people who are technical jobs end up building their own companies that make millions of dollars and are very well taken care of and employ people. So that is so important to me, but it should be also, I hope, so important to you, that we build up these kids. We must build our kids back up, and do not let any school tell your child that they're dumb. Do not let them tell them that they're slow, or they're going to fail, or they're amount to nothing. If you hear that out of your child, you need to march into the school and you need to tear down the individual who did that. Do not be violent, do not be mean, but you put them in their place. Your child is not stupid. Your child is not dumb. What happened is the education system has failed both them and you as parents. Do not ever let your kid be put down by the system, right? Kids are geniuses. We have just not allowed them to flourish the way they're supposed to flourish. Hope that helps. Excellent. All right, guys. Let me look at some questions tonight. We're going to take a couple minutes to look at questions. If you have any questions, drop them in. I know there's a slight delay between all my streaming and what you guys are hearing, so I'll give it a little bit of a minute to have that come back up. And let's see if there's any questions coming through. I see that there's a plumber in the audience. Excellent. We love plumbers. Good. We're waiting for some questions to come through. I know it's going to take a few minutes here. Trump just signed order to suspend immigration. Good. I'll have to go look that up. I haven't seen that. Okay, I was put down for going to SUNY school by my high school guidance counselor. 2 year. Okay, I went to a SUNY school. My 4-year undergrad is at SUNY Cortland in New York, and I loved my time there. I got a great education. I am not working in that degree now, but because I became a doctor. But it's phenomenal. The SUNY school system was great. Now, it was very liberal, but I stayed away from that part of it. Okay. Let's see here. Where can I find your video about vaccines? Wow, I have a lot of them. A lot of them are being uploaded right now, but you can actually go look at my, go down my Facebook timeline from the weekend, Friday night, and you'll see one of the better ones that I've had, which was Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. Go check that out. It's about an hour, 10 minutes. It's an hour, 10 minutes packed of amazingness. I loved it. Good. There was a reporter asking about children. Yes, I saw the reporter who asked about children right as the president was walking off stage, and the general looked up at him. It didn't get asked. I believe it was from OAN, possibly, but it did not get answered. But yes, I did hear about that. Good. Let's see. Can you talk about your daughter's unschooling schedule and what resources she used for schoolwork? The resources I'll look up because I don't control all of that. My wife is also involved with that as well. But I will tell you, my daughter is with us every single day. She goes in. She has breakfast at the office. She does some schoolwork in her workbooks for probably about an hour or so. She's 6 years old. She knocks it out. She knocks out a workbook probably sometimes in a day or two. She's got all of her writing down. She's got her vocabulary down. She's doing all of her math. And then the rest of the day, she goes between she works at the office. So my daughter is on payroll as a model, which is all legal. And she works with supplements at the office. She helps clean. She works on giving out goodie bags. She does a whole bunch of stuff. So homeschool, work, and yes, I believe all children should work from the very earliest age possible because you have to develop a work ethic in kids. That is not a bad thing. That is a good thing. Okay? Excellent. I hope that helped. I'll look up resources for you and I'll send some more over there. I'll post some. I hope that'll help. Good. And I'll tell you, I'm going to have my wife do more homeschool stuff, not because I'm not involved with it, but she actually likes to buy the different books for her. I like more of the video stuff. So we'll give you some more of that stuff as we go. Let's see. I did see Kim Jong-un was in cardio surgery today. I don't know a lot about it. I'll have to start looking in there. Good. Did I see that YouTube is now saying that anything that goes against the WHO is a violation of policy? Guys, so I'm going to repeat this again. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, those are private organizations. I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, you can't violate the First Amendment." They're private organizations. They can take you away your right to talk anytime they want. It's not government. Okay, it's not. We don't have rights. You signed a policy. Okay, so that's what I keep telling you guys. If you want down the road to hear from me, we may fall off of social media or it may go down. I don't know. So you need to get on the email list, and that's where I'm going to be communicating the most. I don't communicate necessarily every single day, but I will be communicating, and you will need to know the trainings that are coming, all this different stuff that you're going to want. So, yeah, they can nail people for a violation all day long. It's their platform. It's not our platform. They own it. Okay, let's see. Any more questions? What star system do I believe I'm from? I don't know, Jamie Lee. I'll have to find that out. We'll talk. But I do study some star systems, yes. What do I think about Islam? That's a deep question. I believe there are fundamental issues going all the way back to the founding of many of these religions. And I won't go into those because I know there are people from Islam out there, and I think there are good people out there, but I think you have to separate the person from the religion. And most people don't even know about some of the deep roots of religion. And I will tell you, if you want to know anything about those, I definitely say go start reading Jim Marr's book, not because he's an expert on religion, but he starts digging up some of the history. I want to see what's in the basement of the Vatican. That's what I want to see. Mold. Somebody talking about mold. I had a woman today. We'll have some fun. I had a woman today who came in, and she is sick as could be. I do muscle testing in the office. I do muscle testing long distance as well. And she has been very, very tired. When she lays down, she muscle tests great. However, I asked her when she's the most tired, because she said she's tired all day. And she said, when I'm working and standing. So I had her stand, and as soon as I had her stand, she lost all energy in muscle testing, and I found it was mold. So I'm actually having her do a home test to find out if she even has mold to start with. And I think we solved the problem today that she has mold. So many people have mold in their house. It's unbelievable. So I'm going to get some mold people on to interview. I'll talk to Brandon, who is very much an expert in that. And I'm also going to get some doctor experts in mold too, because I want both the remediation side as well as the actual biological side, okay? So good pointing out on the mold. Okay, let's see. More on time travel. We will talk more on time travel, just not tonight. I'll go more deeper into that. Talk about the birth certificate Social Security conspiracy. I'm going to bring more American knowledge. We will do that as well, so no big deal. Okay, good. I don't know what Shiva talked about, the cabal in Boston. I'll have to go watch that. I don't watch all of this stuff. Shootings in Nova Scotia, probably cabal, probably false flag type stuff. Let's see, a couple more questions here. Everyone's saying thank you. You're very welcome. I appreciate all of you being on. You're fun to work with. Good. Let's see. What is your advice to those who are developmentally disabled on SSI when it comes to being productive and finding work? I realize that type of income is in danger. I don't necessarily know that income is in danger. I don't know that you're going to have the rug pulled. I had somebody ask me that today, actually, a patient who's on disability, and she said, is the rug going to be pulled out underneath me? I said, I don't think that's going to happen. I think you'll be taken care of, but there'll be a transition away from those social programs going forward, not because they're trying to take it away, but because we have to have some sort of system. Right now, unfortunately, disability and Social Security are completely abused systems. Not because you are abusing it. There's other people out there abusing it, and it can't happen because it goes billions of dollars in debt and it goes bankrupt. So, what do I recommend? This is what I recommend. You have what's called a new economy coming. Find ways to earn money online where you can do from your own home, and there are so many opportunities. It's amazing. So whatever you think, whatever you have a hobby in, find a way to create something online from home using social media, using your own website, all that good stuff, okay? I'm going to go more into the DUMBS, the DUMS. I will go more into that. So I'm not going to dive into details tonight because that's actually its own probably show. Patent 060606. That is the cloud-based system for artificial intelligence and cashless system. I'll have to go into that in a different program. I have read over it a little bit. I have not read the whole thing. Good. Let's see. A couple more and then we'll wrap it up for tonight. Okay. Looking for questions. Let me scroll all the way. Sorry, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom because you guys asked so many great questions that I get hung up here. Do you think silver will ever hit much higher worth? Not necessarily. I think what they've always wanted is silver to be something that's actually has value to it in case of a collapse, but is not so expensive that it cannot be bought. So I think that I don't necessarily see it jumping super high than it is necessarily right now. You might see it go to 30 or 40, maybe 50, but I don't know that it'll go insanely outrageous. And then on top of that, if we do go over to a more gold-backed system or even a multiple metal system, then you might see something completely different. But good question. Nicera, we'll go into that in the future. That takes some time. Let's see. One more question. Okay, here's a good one. This is the last one. I can do a live on parasites. Yes, I will do a live on parasites. A lot of people want to know about parasites. I deal with that every single day. Okay, this is the one I'm going to answer last. Not because I'm going to ignore you guys, but this is the one I'm going to last and we'll conclude. What do I think about debt forgiveness? Good question. I'll go into this a little bit deeper. First off, I believe that if you have debts, you should be as responsible as humanly possible to pay for those debts because you created those debts. So for example, I have debts, my wife has debts, I even have credit card debts. Now people go, oh my gosh, how do you have credit card debts? Well, because my wife and I strategically use credit cards with zero interest rates to accomplish projects and business opportunities that we want to create without having to use a bank which charges us stupid amounts of interest. Now with a credit card, if you're going to do that, you have to also be aware that you have to pay things off or transfer if either a project doesn't go as well as you want it to or isn't as successful. However, I am not of the mindset that credit cards are bad. For example, I do not spend on a debit card. My wife does not spend on a debit card. I do not like debit cards. I think they're a disaster. I am not of the Dave Ramsey mindset of that at all. I have a friend, I have a friend who works with us who actually has gone out to dinner with Dave Ramsey, and he says, yes, he really does not have credit cards. He uses debit cards. I think that's dumb unless you have a debit card for a small account that you only keep a certain amount of money in. But if you're tying a debit card to your main account and you're spending out of that and putting all your bills on that, I personally think that's a giant mistake, because if your debit card is hacked or you lose it or someone steals it, they can get all the money out of your account and you will have to wait potentially weeks or months for that to be investigated while your money is not with you. I personally believe you spend money, for example, whether it's my personal expenses or our business expenses, all of our expenses are charged on a credit card, right? Every single month, credit card. We pay off our credit card personally every single month, but we also have business cards that we don't necessarily always pay off because if we've done something strategic like a business opportunity, but it's also on as much zero interest as possible. Now, keeping in mind that we're also very responsible with our money, okay? So you have to be very aware of that. That's why I say, first and foremost, be responsible for your debts as much as humanly possible. We also have, my wife and I have probably $200,000 plus in student loans between us because of our doctorate educations. Getting doctorate degrees are not cheap, but it's a risk you take. But we also pay those off as much as possible. We pay every month. I do not pay my student loans off fast. I do not. Why? Because I'm going to let that money ride on the bank. If the bank decides to collapse, I believe debt, the way that the banks have made debt, is a crime, first and foremost. However, pay your debts when all possible. If they do a debt forgiveness, I am more than happy to take the debt forgiveness. Why? Because they criminally started these organizations to start with. So therefore, if they have decided that they're going to wipe all debt, I will more than happy take it, because guess what? I have been criminally stole from for my entire life through taxation, through interest, through student loans that are insanely outrageous, through IRS, you name it, okay? So I'm not going to push a loan forgiveness away. However, always be responsible with your debts and with your money as much as possible. So to this day, I will pay all my debts off, but if you're going to take it away, go ahead and take it away. You're more than happy to. But I will explain again, I am not personally a fan of putting things on a debit card. So I actually one time, my wife yelled at me one time, I'll be honest with you. I was out and about, and for some reason my credit card was not running or something like that. I don't know if it was like, it was declining, but it shouldn't have been declining. And so the only thing I had was my debit card on me. And so I swiped it, paid for it, etc. And I literally got home, and 2 days later, my wife's like, why did you use the debit card? And I was like, because the credit card wasn't working at the moment, and that's all I had. Now I carry many more cards, so I'm backed up on that. But debit cards can be hacked. So if you're going to use a debit card because you don't like credit cards, I respect your choice. However, if you're going to do that, please have a separate account that's different from your main checking account. Because if they wipe you out, you're wiped out. The bank does not have to give that money back until they've investigated the actual fraud. So I hope that helps, guys. I hope that helps a lot. Thank you again for showing tonight. We're at an hour now, so I'm going to finish off for the night and go get some rest. But I hope everyone has enjoyed this. I hope everyone appreciates. I appreciate all of you, and hope the value helps you. I'll be back tomorrow night, same bat time, same bat channel. Yes, I grew up in the age of good television shows that were actually fun to watch. And keep an eye out. We have 4 different amazing interviews coming up in the next probably couple weeks to a month. Some really cool people. So keep an eye on those. They're going to be great information for you. Guys, I hope you have an amazing night. Take good care of yourselves. Be well. Stay healthy. If you want health help, reach out to me. Contact me either via Messenger or gethealthy@drjasondean.com. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Like the Twitter page, like the Facebook page, do a follow on that, and sign up for the email list at therevolutionnetwork.com is the email address, or the website for the email list, and then revolutionnetwork.live is the actual website. So, guys, have an amazing night. Be well. Take care of yourself. Spread this far and wide. Let's fix America.